All right, let's talk about the second round of the NBA playoffs. We've seen 2 games for each of the series so far. Let's get into it. I think I want to start out first with the Phoenix-Dallas series. The main takeaway for me, and I'm going to talk about the Suns in a second, but I want to get on the Dallas Mavericks first. All season long, and at least since January and these last couple of months, I've been praising the Dallas Mavericks, mainly because, one, Luka's being Luka and playing amazing, but because he finally had other guys who can play alongside him, take the ball out of his hands, shoot the ball, create their own shots. I feel like a broken record because I've been saying this for so long when talking about Spencer Dinwiddie and Jalen Brunson. But in this series so far, in these first couple of games, they've been absolutely horrible. In the game 2, Jalen Brunson was 3 for 12. Spencer Dinwiddie was 3 for 10. Luka did his thing. Luka was 59% from the field, 50% from 3, 35 points. Luka's going to do his thing. Luka looks like Luka. He looks absolutely amazing. But if he doesn't have these other guys to show up with him to come and play basketball, literally just come on and play basketball. And all respect to the Phoenix Suns defense. Their defense is playing very, very well. We all know they have a really good defense. But we know Luka can score against good defenses. But players like Jalen Brunson, Spencer Dinwiddie, we still have yet to see if they can score against the Suns' elite defense because they're just not showing up for Luka. And I don't think it's impossible. Please don't get me wrong for that. I'm not counting them out for this series. I still have the Suns to win it, but I'm telling you, in terms of Jalen Brunson and Spencer Dinwiddie showing up and performing well, I'm not completely counting them out. Let's see what they look like at home. They're both guys who I wouldn't call them stars or superstars or all-stars, things like that. I think they're just really good role players. They're starter caliber guys, but sometimes those tier of guys play better at home. Obviously, they're going to go home. They're going to go back to Dallas, let that crowd get into them a little bit. They might play a little bit better. They might look a little bit better. For Luka's sake, I'm hoping so. I'm happy for him that he made it to the second round, but at this rate, it doesn't look like he's going much further than that. And for the Suns, I got a couple of things written down here. Basically, Chris Paul and Devin Booker is what I have written down. It was moments in the second half of this game where Chris Paul was like looking like he was going into that next mode, shooting a lot of mid-range jumpers, creating some shots for himself. And then when it felt like he was dying down, or I'll say coming back down to earth, it was immediately Devin Booker's turn to take over and start shooting well. And he was doing it from the 3 at a lot of that, especially in the second half. And I got to give a little bit of props to the Dallas Mavericks defense, because at least when you watch the game, it's not like Chris Paul, it's not like Devin Booker are shooting wide open jump shots. They have to create these shots for themselves. And the defense is good, but the offense is just a whole lot better. Booker and Paul are 2 of the best shot makers in the NBA, and they're putting a clinic on full display right now in this series. In that second game, the Suns shot 64% from the field and 52% from 3. If you're the Dallas Mavericks, you just got to hope and pray they don't do that again. I don't see them shooting that well again. And you just got to hope Jalen Brunson and Spencer Dinwiddie show up to play. You got to hope the Suns don't play as amazing, and you just got to hope your 2 other guys show up and play alongside Luka. We'll see what happens in Dallas, though. All right, now let's go back out east and talk about the Bucks-Celtics game. I said going into this, with Chris Middleton being out, the Bucks cannot afford for Jrue Holiday to have one of his subpar games. And what does he do? In game 2, he goes 7 for 20. You can't get that from Jrue Holiday if you're the Bucks. You just absolutely cannot. But shout out to Boston. They came in and they did what they had to do. They knew they could not go back to Milwaukee down 0-2. They handled business here, and they handled it basically out the gates. Started out hot, hitting 5 out of their 6 first threes. Jalen Brunson was hot in the first half, getting it going. And then in the second half, Jason Tatum took over. The Celtics were absolutely on fire from 3. Grant Williams went 6 for 9. Jaylen Brown went 6 for 10. And honestly, Boston never really gave the Bucks a chance. When the Bucks seemed like they were putting a couple of points together, Boston was right there to say, nah, we're going to keep this basically 20-point lead going the whole game. If I'm the Bucks, you can't get too low on this game. You can't allow yourself to get too low. You won in game 1. You came in there. You did what you were supposed to do, which was still home court advantage. Now, yeah, you probably would not want to lose as bad as you did in game 2, but that's okay. You'll make some adjustments. You'll figure it out. You're going to, once again, very similar to what we said about the last team, you're going to hope the Celtics don't shoot as well as they did in game 2. And you're going to hope Jrue Holiday doesn't show up with another stinker. He's another one of those players who, I think he's better than the Spencer Dinwiddie and Jalen Brunson, like the example from the Mavs series, but another guy who probably will play better at home. And you got to hope Jrue Holiday does not have another game like this series if you want a chance to beat the Boston Celtics. All right, now let's go out west and talk about the Warriors and Grizzlies series. Game 2 was another example of a team handling business, very similar to what the Boston Celtics did. The Memphis Grizzlies knew they could not go back to the Warriors home crowd down 0-2. That would have been a almost impossible thing to come out of. And overall, this was a really, really good back and forth game. Got to give a shout out off the top to Ja Morant. Went absolutely insane in this game, especially down the stretch in that fourth quarter. Obviously, for Memphis, all the praise basically has to go to Ja Morant. Absolutely special game for him. That crazy stretch down the end in that fourth quarter. He was aggressive the whole game. And part of that could be due to the fact that he knew he wasn't going to have Dillon Brooks because of that flagrant 2 early in the game. Desmond Bane wasn't hitting his shots. He hadn't really been playing well this whole series. Jaren Jackson Jr. had a really, really good game 1. But one of the big things about his game 1 is he shot the 3 ball so well. And I didn't expect to see that moving forward for the rest of the series, because a lot of those threes he made in game 1 was basically just Kevin Looney playing way too deep in drop coverage, not getting out on him fast enough for the contest. And in game 2, with Draymond Green back, a lot of these shots were contested, and you can see that he was rushing these jumpers. The shots he took in game 2, just his form, the speed of the shot, the comfortability of his shot did not look as good as it did in game 1, because in game 1 he was taking set shots, had all the time in the world to take these shots, and in game 2 he was just forcing it. He was rushing his shots, and he did not have a good offensive night in game 2 of this game. And I think Ja Morant realized that early and said, well, I got to do what I got to do, and I got to do this for my team. Excellent game from Ja Morant. If you're the Warriors, the main takeaway from this game 2 is to not overstress it. Very similar for the Bucks. You guys did what you had to do. You stole home court advantage. You won game 1. Now you go back and you defend home court. You make the series a whole lot shorter for yourself. You shot 18% from 3 in this game. I don't see the Warriors doing that again. They'll figure it out. And then last but definitely not least, let's talk about my Sixers. First things first, before I even talk about my Sixers, talk about Joel Embiid, talk about how angry I am with James Harden and how much I don't want us to re-sign him, I want to give some props to the Miami Heat. The Miami Heat in this series against the Sixers are showing why they've been the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference basically the whole season. Their depth is insane. In game 2, they were able to play 7 guys over 25 minutes, but still less than 38. I think the highest minutes played was Jimmy Butler, like 37 and a half minutes. That basically that's real depth. That's depth that your coach can trust. And even they went 9 deep technically. 2 other guys got about 10 to 12 minutes. The way Victor Oladipo's been playing, he proved to us in that closeout game against the Hawks that he's basically back. And from what I can tell in these first couple of games with the Sixers, that he still looks like himself, or at least good enough as he did back when they beat the Hawks in that game 5. The great thing about the Miami Heat is, 1, obviously their switchability. They switch so much. Every screen is basically a switch. They have versatile defenders all over the court. And 2, because of the guys they have on the court, Victor Oladipo, Jimmy Butler, Tyler Hero, heck, even Bam, whoever has the hot hand for that night, they have the ability to just feed that guy the ball, get him going, and that guy could blow up to have a 20, 25, 30-point night that evening. So shout out to the Heat. I'm really looking forward to seeing y'all against whoever wins out of that Boston Celtics and Milwaukee Bucks series, because there's no way the Sixers win this series. From what I can tell, and I'll Google it right now, but I don't think Joel Embiid's coming back for game 3. Now he's still listed as out, and they're saying we'll wait and see if something returns. I don't see him playing. And to be honest with you, even if he did play at this rate, I don't know what version of him we would get. I don't know if he'd still have to have some limitations due to the face mask, whatever. We're not even worried about him coming back or not coming back. My main issue if I'm the Sixers is you're not getting the play that you thought you wanted to get out of James Harden. The Sixers made a trade for James Harden hoping he'd be a legitimate backup superstar when Joel Embiid's out or when Joel Embiid's not on the floor, and he's not being that. I saw the stat that he hasn't taken over 20 shots since he's been with the Sixers, something he did on a regular back in his Houston Rockets days. But then you got to think, over the last couple of seasons with the Nets and then now with the Sixers, he's not looked at as the number 1 scorer. He's the number 1 facilitator, and he's usually the second or even third option with these last 2 teams. And just the way he looks, the first step really isn't there like it used to be. The step back, he's not creating the separation like he used to be. I don't know if you want James Harden taking over 20 shots, because at the efficiency rate or the accuracy that he's been having lately, especially on that 3 ball, it's just not there. So if you have him take 20 shots, he's probably going to make 9, 7. And it might sound like I'm giving up on my 76ers. I wouldn't say I'm giving up on them, but I'm just being realistic. I don't see a way where we beat the Miami Heat in the series, especially with Joel Embiid being out. And if you're going to ask me, should the Sixers re-sign Harden for next season on the max contract or in the offseason, my answer is no. You take the L, you say you lost the trade, whatever you want to say, but you got to take that L and not give him max money, because if you sign him max money, you're basically guaranteeing Joel Embiid as for a trade in the next couple of seasons, because I don't see us going far with James Harden on this team. But that's all I got for you guys today. Really enjoyed the playoffs. Thanks so much for watching. If you made it this far, plan on doing a Q&A again soon in the next couple of days, maybe sometime next week. If you have questions, you got to join the Discord. Don't forget, links in the bio, of course. Shameless plug. It's the Less Hawks Tubes Discord. Merch link is also in the bio. Drop your questions in there, and I'll see you in the next one. I'm out. Peace.